What's up, everybody? My name's Dermy Wormy. Well, you already know that. And I'm coming at you with a brand new video for my G Gundam installment. This is episode 5, and it's been a while. I had to bring the notebook back. After episode 4's review, it's kind of a crap show. So I got my notebook back. That way I can at least pinpoint stuff. It's not as detailed as it was back when I was doing it off my phone, but it is what it is. And this week is Great Escape Captive Gundam Fighter. This is one of those, it's not the greatest episode out there. Mainly just, the story makes sense. It's just how they deliver it. It's kind of wibble wobbly. Not the greatest out of everything they could have done. But I like this episode because it establishes my third favorite character, Argo Golfsky. And I like his story. I like the reason he fights. It's very straightforward. It's very simple. It's not as something great and grand as like the dreams that Chippity fights for. Returning the Shaolin Temple to its once former glory like Saishi fights for. Or simply for honor and for the weird little girl that frickin' I had his name and I lost it. The French guy fights for. I keep forgetting his name, and I don't know why. Probably because he's just not my favorite character. He has good stories, but we're not talking about him this week. We're talking about Argo Golfsky, the behemoth of a man. And this is a good week. This is a good one. And this episode is like planting the seeds for next week's episode, which is when they finally start into some deeper topics. And this one gets a little deep because one of the big themes is freedom. And what would you do for freedom? What would you do for protection? And are you ever truly free? So let's get into it, shall we? As you know, you get the gif. Starts off with the dude talking about how the Gundam fights are and whatnot. And for those who haven't been here, you know, the Gundam fights happen every 40 years. I can't remember off the top of my head. I heard it twice and I still can't remember. And nations who now are up in space send down their fighters to fight, and they fight and they fight and they fight for the control of Earth, essentially, and the space government. And how does the picture affect this week? And this week, if I can get it to work the way we're going to Russia, where Bort Gundam, who's a very simplistic design, very, very simple. I do like the kind of the Russian style big bulky hat for the head. You can kind of see the pilot. Oh, it's supposed to be a mystery pilot again. Oh, let's just be real. It's Argo. We already know that it's Argo. They really should have just put shadow figures here, but I mean, and I am gonna go on a side note. One of the cool parts about this episode is what Bolt Gundam is. And it's harder to tell on some other Gundams, but Bolt Gundam's a really good example of this. Every Gundam frame has 3 types. Power, technical, and I want to say speed or special. And then from there you also have like frame styles. Like, are you a bulkier kind of power-based frame that is an intimidating giant with a bunch of attack power and a lot of defense, not very much motion, or stuff like this? And Bolt Gundam is a perfect example of one of the bulkier ones, one of the power style Gundams, because it is a behemoth of a unit. But this is where we go, and we get the let's get things ready. Gundam fight all set, ready, go. Title sequence. And then we get the shot of today's main stage, the asylum, or the Gundam graveyard. And we get a little voiceover from an old grandma in the inn, this little lady saying that she doesn't really know when this place was started being called the Gundam graveyard, but haven't heard of anybody by the name of Domon Kashu coming through. Not too many tourists come here because of the asylum. That's about it, what she says, but it kind of establishes the things here in this Russian town. And you got Rain there and everything, and she's kind of concerned and Rain leaves the little end, and she's trying to find Domon, and the last place she knew was Domon was here. And she has no idea where he is, and she can't send the Corlander to him because she doesn't know where he is. And she's all worried and whatnot. And if I can get it right, she starts looking up at the asylum. And that's when we start getting sirens going off. Lights start happening. Manhole cover hops up, and there's Domon for the escape. And as Domon is escaped, dodges some light, rolls into a bush, and starts trying to figure out, like, how the heck did he get into the situation? And we see it. And Domon gets captured by some of the by people. They start beating him up and whatnot, trying to ascertain where is his Gundam, because they know he's the Gundam pilot, but he's not letting on that he's the Gundam pilot. And he's getting beat up, crap kicked out of him. You get this guard asking, well, how do you even know he's actually a Gundam pilot? Like, how did you figure that out? For all you know, he was just walking around town. That's not enough. And then you get, if I can get it, our head guard, who is also a recurring character. Cannot remember her name, was not said here in this episode, but she's a recurring character, a very domineering character, and a character that kind of scares the crap out of me, even though she's kind of attractive. But she says she knows for a fact that he is the pilot. The Russian intelligence agency gives them all the intel they need, and this is Domon Kashu of Neo Japan. The guard that was trying to, figure out is he actually a fighter, takes note of what was in Domon's pockets, sees this piece of paper with a bunch of names on it, a bunch of country names on it, takes a look at the photo, if I can get it, turns it to Domon. Domon then kind of gets all uppity, gets up, attacks the guard, and basically uses him to help him escape. And before he escapes, if I'm doing this right, this one, he kind of dislocates his shoulder, tells him to get it treated real quick, and then he runs off. And he picks up his picture, and then the main lady says, no, he'll stop him. So who is he? Well, we already know who he is, but this is something that I'm annoyed with G Gundam with. If you have a surprise character, leave it as a surprise. Don't let us know who he is right off the top of the bat, because it becomes very obvious who their fighter is. But we get back to Domon escaping outside, but he gets stopped by a giant, saying, where do you think you're going? And this man stands up, pulls his chain, showing the system that they have set up, which is this digital kind of cyber chain. Don't really know how it works, but it's like a force field system. You can only move your arms so far. Domon, and this kind of shows you the size difference. Like, this man is a behemoth. This man is huge. This man is amazing. Amazing. Oh, if Can-Man sees this, he's gonna think some things. But Domon goes in for a quick attack, nails him once in the gut, and starts noticing that his attacks aren't doing anything. And he's kind of shocked by this, but I mean, come on. This is pure muscle. Pure muscle. And Domon's a little dude. Domon's shocked. Argo pulls up his arms for an overhead slam, hits Domon in the head, knocks him out, and then all the guards show up, and our head guard asks, "You weren't planning to escape too, were you?" And get another shot of our mystery behemoth, Argo. And then we cut to, if I can get it, Rain and the Corlander. And we get an introduction to a interesting character named Dr. Mikamura, who's Rain's father. And Rain's trying to contact her father for some assistance. He can't really help, but tells her to keep an eye on the situation. See, there's Mr. Mikamura, Dr. Mikamura, who becomes a more recurring character and has some stuff, but it's later down the line. And he has his own secrets, and I'm not gonna let it on. And yeah, Rain's all nervous, and I don't know if they've actually established this yet, but I guess they have. But she says, "Domon, if you keep making me worry like this, I'm going to dump you." We then cut to a dream Domon's having. We see the picture, and we get a voiceover of a character you haven't heard the name of. Well, you've heard the name of, but you haven't heard his voice, and it's Major Alube from Japan, and he's the guy with the mask on, and you get a decent shot of him, but he says, "You need to hurry up, you need to capture this man. You need to," there's Major Alube, "you need to stop the Dark Gundam." If I can get it just right, probably can't. That's our first image of the Dark Gundam. What is the Dark Gundam? Ooh, we're letting on some bigger notes of what the whole story is. You get Dr. Mikamura saying, "You have to capture him so we can save his life," and it's an image of Domon's father. And from there, Domon bolts awake, captured in a cell, and is shocked to actually be here. Oh, excuse me. Oh. There we go. Anyways, he's in the cell, and he's here with his cellmate known as the Birdman. Don't know why. I think they kind of let on it later, but I kind of not really for that. And he's playing some chess, and he's basically telling Domon the gist of what the heck's going on here. He goes like, "Oh, you're captured. You're a Gundam fighter. Welcome, essentially." And he says, Domon tries to figure out, like, what is this place? And he says, this is where Neo-Russia essentially wins. This is how they win their matches. This is how they do their things. So what they do is they send out information that there are Gundams here. They bring unsuspecting convincing Gundam pilots to come here. They capture the Gundam pilots, and they force them to work. They basically force them to work here. But because they get captured, they're then deemed no longer a part of the Gundam match, and that's technically treason to their country, so they become fugitives. So you basically, you're no longer free. No matter what you do, you are no longer free. You're either imprisoned here, or you're constantly on the run. So it's a win-win, and Russia gets everything they want. And it's basically a crapshoot, and then you see Rain's here asleep, letting on that, nobody's ever going to find you, nobody's going to know you're here, and you're going to be stuck here, working here forever. You're just a miserable bunch of losers. and then it lets on what they do with their Gundams, what they do with the captured pilots' Gundams, and they scrap them. They scrap them so they can take note of all the new technologies. They tear them apart so they can better their own technology. I mean, to be fair, it's a strategy. I don't know if it's an actual legal strategy, but I mean, nobody's come down to shut them down, and it works. It worked for a very long time, apparently. And basically, Birdman tells them, just give up your Gundam already. You've lost. There's no point in continuing. You're no longer free. You're a part of this now. And Domon's kind of not for it. And it kind of ends there with Domon just staring up at the Gundams. We then cut to kind of like the base of operation for the guards. This stupid thing would work. There we go. And we get them there. He's the guard trying to ascertain if Domon Gundam. Why am I speaking like that? If Domon was actually a Gundam pilot, is all kind of rejoice because our head guard has a plan that he will infiltrate Domon, convince him to give up the information for where his Gundam is, and then they'll have it, and then they'll fully win. And yeah, so we're led on. Although again, G Gundam should have just kept the opening character in the shadow. You wouldn't have ever been able to figure out who it is. But they're trying to hint that Birdman is the spy, but it's really not. So we cut to the guys eating lunch in the mess hall, and Birdman's continuing to basically tell Domon to just give up your Gundam. You've lost. There's no point. And then Domon says, well, you kind of know a lot of what's going on here. Are you a Gundam fighter? And then Birdman kind of freaks out and goes like, what? I'm not a Gundam fighter. What are you talking about? And starts kind of panicking. Again, they're trying to imply that he's Russia's fighter and he's the spy. He's not. Domon then gets a good look of Argogovsky, who stopped him. Domon gets a little ticked off, hops up, punches him in the face, and doing so, he ticks off some guards. He knocks out one guard, stealing his gun, saying, now I'm just going to leave this place. And Argo gets back up, kind of, tending his punch. Notices that there's a guard up top with a sniper rifle. I don't really think it's a sniper rifle. I think it's just a regular rifle with a scope aimed at Domon. Argo then rushes into action, knocking Domon out of the way of the shot. And then this is when Argo lets on to Domon that he has a plan of escape. And that tomorrow after their work shift, they are going to escape. And Domon then gets beaten up by some of the guards. Argo's plan is in action. And then we get our halftime. Biggest criticism out of everything Gundam could do. Leave it a surprise. Please, just leave it a surprise for me. Well, it wouldn't be for me. It'd be for you guys, but not much we can do about it. Day continues. You then cut back to Rain, and she's inspecting the security on the asylum. She has the Corelander here, and she's taking note that it's secure. There's cannons, there's all sorts of artillery, no chance of getting on it, no chance of escaping it, and even if she could, how is she going to get the Corelander to Domon over this ocean? Which becomes a big point, this ocean. We cut back inside, it's night now. Birdman tended to Domon's wounds and continues basically telling Domon, just give up already. Give them your Gundam and just surrender. Domon then lets on that, hey, we're planning an escape. You want to join us? And Birdman says, how are you going to escape? Even if you get a car and break out of the gates, where are you going to go? You got the ocean right there. All you're going to do is go kaplash. Kasplash. You're just going to fall into the ocean. So there's no point. Just give up already. And Domon then kind of passes out. Well, starts trying to fall asleep, and he takes note of something. This is a little messy, but it does play into what comes up in the next tomorrow when they try to escape. But he takes note of, oh, it's so cold, so freezing cold, so very cold. I mean, it's always been cold. It's Russia. You then cut to the head guard saying, what? They're planning an escape? Why is he trying to escape? And she's all frustrated. We then cut back to Birdman, and this might be why he's called the Birdman. And he's feeding a bunch of birds, taking a look out at the ocean, at the horizon and the town out there, thinking of freedom. Domon comes up and he says, so have you made up your mind? And Birdman has, so he decides to escape. So the work shift's ending. Everybody's walking out. Domon and Birdman get up with Argo, and this is a badass scene. I'm not gonna lie, when I saw the scene both times, I said, God, Argo, you're just freaking amazing. Because it's so badass. Argo stops as everybody's walking out. He turns to this wall. Let me get it just right. He yells, he screams, he punches a hole in the wall. He pulls out, oh, I can't get it. Well, he pulls out a fuel pipe and says, this is a fuel pipe, and we're gonna light it up. And he causes a explosion so they can escape, because in all the commotion, nobody's paying attention, and they steal a car. I love Argo. He's such a badass. I love him. And they're starting to head out. They break through the gate. And as they break through the gate, they kind of do a jump. And Birdman takes note of the ocean and says, oh my God, because of the sub-zero temperatures last night, the entire ocean is frozen. I don't think that's how science works. But I'm for it. And also it plays into what Birdman said a little bit ago. Oh, it's so cold, so freezing cold. It's kind of rocky, but they established that it was super cold. You get Rain picks up on Domon's signal finally. Don't know how. We're rolling with it. The head guard's pissed off that they escaped and calls to summon the Bolt Gundam. And Bolt Gundam is in this little hangar and just BAM! Breaks out this behemoth. The head guard says she's going to take control of it through remote control mode. They're heading out. Birdman's all excited that he's freed, and then they see Bolt Gundams heading their way. Birdman takes note that it's a Gundam. He hasn't seen it. It's starting to let on that he hasn't seen a Gundam in a while. Domon says, they caught up to us too fast. Did you rat us out? Birdman says no, and then they start putting two and two together. This special man's brain. Was it Argo that ratted them out? Quick spoiler. Yes, it was. So, the Gundam starts attacking them with the Vulcans. Hits the truck. It blows up, causing a crater. And Domon and Birdman are on one side of the crater. Can't speak. And over on the other... this is where you get a really good look at Bolt Gundam. And then over on the other side, I can get it just right. No. I don't think I can get it. But down here is Argo. And this is when they kind of figure out that Argo is the spy for the Russians. This is when things start getting really good. So Domon and them don't know what they're going to do. Rain comes in with the core lander. Domon's happy. He calls for a shining Gundam. Initiation sequence starts up. We then hop over here. Head guard's saying she'll take care of this. And as she's saying that, Argo interrupts, saying, "No, this is my fight. I will handle my own fights." And she's shocked that Argo would talk back to her like that. Then Argo gets in, grabs his straps, and goes like, "Gundam fight all set, ready, go." And the fight starts up. You get... Probably should have thought some of these designs ideas through a little bit more, because I do not think this is very safe for them to be on these broken shards of ice and just standing there as these two massive units do battle. But this is one of those really good fights. On par with the Saisaishi. Actually, I think this is better than the Saisaishi fight. Because Bolt Gundam shows off like his main weapon, and his shoulder unit here pops out. He pulls out a little like handle unit here and a chain. He gets a ball and chain. He starts spinning it around. Domon says he has a hammering weapon. Well, you destroyed our ball and chain earlier, so here I go. And Domon uses the superior speed of Shining Gundam. Like, it is a fast unit to just close the distance between them real fast. Argo is impressed. Domon goes to land a single blow, but it does nothing. Similar to earlier. That hit that Domon landed does nothing to Bolt Gundam, but it leaves Bolt Gundam wide open. The commander says, "Well, you don't underestimate the superior technology of Russia." So Bolt Gundam then just looks at him. Domon kind of looks up. Bolt Gundam brings up his arms and just slams them down on Domon, dealing just this massive blow. And it hurts Domon a whole lot. Bolt Gundam then goes in to grab his arm unit and just destroys it. This is the strength of a power style Gundam, and Bolt Gundam is a massive behemoth. Tons of armor, tons of just pure strength. Domon, the head guard, then tells Argo to go straight for the head. Argo does that, grabs Domon by the head, lifts him up in the air, starts crushing it, and everybody's pretty much convinced that this is it. Argo starts basically taunting him, saying, "Is this all you can do? Seriously, is this all you have? Was the guy in the prison just some con man?" Because he's getting pissed because Domon had fighting spirit and he's not showing it here. And Argo is furious. So he starts crushing Domon's head unit. Rain's worried. Argo's ticked. Head guard's convinced it's over. Birdman wants Domon to win. And Domon decides to go for the goal. He knocks himself loose by hitting Bolt Gundam's arm off. He then goes for a shining finger attack, landing a direct hit, busting through Bolt Gundam's arm, landing on his head, getting ready to destroy everything. And everybody, you get the head guard saying, "No, we've lost." Rain's excited because they won, but Birdman notices the truth, and it's actually a draw. And Domon's just too beat up and wiped out to continue the fight. So it pretty much ends there. Bolt Gundam lands down but isn't destroyed. And that's that for the fight. And now we get some janky dialogue, but it's establishing dialogue. But it's also dialogue that makes you think. Makes you think really hard. So you get Domon's free, Rain's there, you get your Shining Gundam, Birdman's free finally. And Birdman says, he heard that Argo was at one point just a pirate, a formidable space pirate. And to keep his team, his crew, safe and to spare their lives, he decided to join up with Russia. He decided to surrender to Russia and be their fighter. And he takes note of this on his chest, and that's a bomb. Basically establishing that Argo has no life but to fight. If he refuses to fight, he dies and his crew suffers. So he's in a rock and a hard place. He is essentially a forever prisoner. Forever to fight. That's the only bit of freedom he gets. And it's a touching story because Argo has there's another episode of an Argo backstory that hits really hard. Not as hard as Cyberpunk Edge Runners, but it's up there. And Birdman then says he has never seen that picture, the man on the picture. Birdman now says, well, he's free, but he can't do anything because he's now a fugitive of his own nation. Oh, excuse me. And he says, from now on, I'll just be running here on Earth, trying to capture that freedom again, because what else can I do? And then he recites Article 7 of the Gundam Fight International Tournament Regulations. And it says, Earth is their eternal fighting ground. And as long as this competition is happening, they are forever prisoners. And Domon kind of takes that to note and says, yeah, as long as this competition is on, we are prisoners here on this Earth. And that's that. This episode is one of the episodes that starts doing the whole, some of those deeper themes, like what does it mean to be free? And how do you attain freedom? It's an episode that makes you think. Towards the end, granted, and it's some rocky dialogue. I'm not gonna sit here and say, "Oh, it's the greatest dialogue ever." No, it's rocky. It's several kind of like one of the best moments is how they did the dream sequence, kind of letting on that there's a deeper storyline here with Domon. Some of the dialogue in this episode is that's on some very shaky ground to get this information out there, but it has to get out there, and it is what it is. I really like Argo. He is my third favorite character. His storyline's just so fun. Well, not fun, but it's so deep, and it's more emotional than some of the others. But with that being said, we have come to the end of this episode, and this is when next week this episode kind of starts letting into some of the other episodes that are deeper themes, especially next week's episode 6. Yes, 6. No. Yes, 6. Sorry, these numbers start merging in together. But with that, I give this episode 7 out of 10. Mainly because the dialogue's really rocky. I love this episode, though. It establishes a really good character, and it has a good idea of what is freedom, and can you ever obtain true freedom. And I like it. Plus, Argo fights for just a very simplistic reason. He's captured. He wants to keep his crew safe. I'm going to fight. It's a whole lot different than seeking the dreams that chippity seats. It's different than wanting to reestablish the Shaolin Temple or simply fighting for honor. It is a kind of a more personal and deeper idea that, hey, outside of these ideas of glory, all I want to do is keep my crew safe. And I'm going to do that at all cost. So I really like I like Argo. There's a later episode where things happen that plays into some of his own backstory, and it makes you a little emotional. So yep, 7 out of 10. I think I'm going to stick with that for this episode's rating. Possibly the best fight to date. I think this is better than the Saisaishi fight. There's tons of better fights later on. Fights that Domon actually almost loses in. There's a lot of better episodes later on. Like, we're still a ways out, but things are going to start ramping up. I believe we have another, if I'm doing my math right, maybe another 5 episodes before some big shakeup starts happening, some cool shakeups, some different things start happening, and I could be wrong on the exact number, but I believe it's another 5 episodes, and we get our first multi-staged episode when my number 1 character is introduced. I think one of the best characters in the entire show. Actually, I think it is the best character in the show. Okay. Done talking G Gundam. Quick housekeeping. Tonight, which is October the 1st, I will be on Renaissance Nerds channel discussing the latest episode of Rings of Power. I have to watch that next. I did it on myself. Anyways, I'll have the link for that down in the description, and that episode down in the description. Leave a like, share it out with your friends, leave a comment, do all that stuff. Follow me at the Twitch and the Twitters and the Rumbles. If you don't want to watch it here on Rumble, if you don't want to watch it here on YouTube, watch it on Rumble. If you don't want to watch it on Rumble, watch it here on YouTube. I'm going to have, the two things interlinked. Stay tuned for more live streams. Friday nights I do Best Buddy streams with my friend Silver. He was on last night. We were playing Gundam Evolution. We got our ass handed to us. Let's just say that, because that game needs some balancing issues. Has some balancing issues to establish and some things that they seriously need to work out. But with that being said, y'all have a wonderful day, and bye for now.